I'd like to thank everybody that's involved with the clinic, Bruce, and thank y'all for asking me to come and share a little bit about Macon County football. We don't have any secrets or anything like that. If you see us play, you know, we're not fancy with throwing the ball, and we're not real into passing the ball and things like that. But a few of the things, I want to try to break this 2-hour period up, and I want to talk about our weight program, because I feel like what we get in our weight program, we transfer to the field, not necessarily skill-wise, but mentally. And the mental toughness of making that kid get down in the hole on that squat and come all the way up after he's done about 4 or 5 reps with enough weight on there to make him work. So I want to share, we feel like that kind of toughness, that if we transfer that kind of toughness to the field, both offensively and defensively, then it's going to work out for us in the fourth quarter, and that's really what we play for, is to make sure the game is close in the fourth quarter and play for the fourth quarter. That don't mean that we don't play in the first quarter or the second or the third, but we want to pound on you and pound on you and pound on you. And if you're still standing at the end of the fight, you're going to be the winner. If we're still standing, we're going to be the winner. And that's philosophy-wise, that's what we do. First of all, I want to talk about who I am. Who I am is different than what I do for a living. I am the father of Katie, Kristen, and Katie, or Caleb, and the husband of Kim, and that's who I am. Now, what I do for a living is coach football. My favorite verse is Proverbs 27:17, and it talks about, as iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. And then your relationships with other coaches and with your assistant coaches and things like that, and your relationship within your church, I feel like that those relationships make me sharper, and I use those relationships to help me in everyday life. I want to share something that was in our church bulletin with you, and I think it really speaks about how we as coaches affect our kids. And that later on in life, you know, Coach Hyder says, you're going to be that kid's coach the rest of your life. And if you think about it, you know, once our seniors graduate this year, I'm going to be their only high school coach. And it doesn't matter if you've been there 1 year or 2 years. When the seniors you have now graduate, you're going to be their high school coach the rest of their life. And how you act toward them, how you react toward them, how you act at home when they are around your home, or if they are, and they should be, they see that. And they're maturing, and their maturation process is there, and that's part of growing up. But let me share this with you. This is Painting of the Last Supper. That's the title of the article. After an extensive search, Leonardo da Vinci found a young man aged 19 whose face was innocent, pure, and unspoiled by sin. The famous artist spent 6 months carefully painting him as a central figure in the Last Supper. During the next 6 years, 11 more men were chosen to represent the apostles, with the exception of Judas. A man sentenced to die for murder was discovered in Rome. And as a matter of fact, he's in a Roman dungeon. Da Vinci went to Rome and studied him in the sunlight and saw a dark, vicious man with long, shaggy hair. He would paint him, or paint that man, as Judas, the betrayer. So special permission was gotten from the king, and they took him to Milan, Italy. And when Da Vinci finished with the prisoner was led away. But as he led away, he pleaded with Da Vinci. "Do you not know who I am?" The prisoner cried. "Oh God, have I fallen so low? I'm the same man that you painted just 7 years ago as Christ." Now this story is a true story of the Last Supper. I think this story teaches us that wrong thinking and wrong actions can lead to a life of disaster. And you know, the guy was 19 years old, and that's most of your seniors are going to be, I say most nowadays, they're trying to make them 18. But those mamas want to speed them up, get them in school. But most of them are just like the guys that are graduating from your school, just like this guy at 19 when he was painted by Da Vinci. And you have a big effect on these kids. I don't know if you realize it or not. And some of you realize it but may not know it. Now there's a difference. We're going to get into X and O's here in a minute, but I really feel like that the coaching profession is the last bastion for this country. I really feel like football is the last hope for this country. I really believe that if football don't stay and go and grow, this country's in trouble. And that's a mouthful. But football teaches you, and most of you know this, teaches you more than any other sport could teach you, more than any English class you could, anything you could get out of English or science class about life. You know, all those other things are well and good, but you still got to learn how to get up when you get knocked down. And you know, we've all been knocked down some. We've all been knocked down some. And probably the most rewarding part of being knocked down is when you get back up. That first few moments or days, or once you decide to get back up. You know, I'm talking about life stories now. So what we try to do now is we try to tie all this in to playing football. And here's how we do it. Let's see here. First of all, we want to talk about, and I'll keep turning those things over and over. Is that right? All right. We talk about character. And this is a first day of practice in the fall. This is what we start talking about. And I'm sure all of you do. I'm sure all of you do. But it's character according to what the Lord says, not what Coach Cornett says. Because every one of you in here has got an opinion on what's right. But really and truly, there's only one opinion. And that's what the Lord's opinion is. And He tells us that in His book. So what I try to do is I try to instill in these kids that it's not right to curse simply because I say it's not. But it's not right to curse because the Lord says it's not. It's not right to have premarital sex because I say it's not. Okay? Because the next coach that comes to Macon County may have a different theory about that. So we start talking about character and the will to win. And the will to win is not nearly as important as the will to prepare. And now we're going to start getting into it. This is our philosophy of weight training. If any of you want copies of any of this, you can certainly get any copies. Just be specific and put your address and name on a piece of paper, and I'll be glad to send you anything that I put up here. And just drop it. I'll probably have a folder or something to keep it with. All right. This is our philosophy. We train year-round, and we believe that in-season work is just as important as out-of-season work. This is a key now. We believe that recovery is important, but doing nothing is not true recovery. And I think that's probably what separates a lot of us, or most of what we do, from a lot of programs. We're not going to sit around and not do anything. And that's where we get into problems, as I see it. We believe that recovery is important, but that doing nothing is not true recovery. We define recovery as actively doing some movement to allow our legs to be fresh. Fresh is the key, and we can go into that later. We will get into that a little bit later. I discovered about 6 or 8 years ago, a workout from Oklahoma. I think it's Oklahoma State, actually. But they do, and it's called the Complex, and it's a series of exercises that we do even on game day. And we make our basketball players lift on game day. Now, let me say this. If you ain't got a basketball coach who's going to help you with that, you're beating your head against the wall. I've been in places where the baseball kids couldn't touch a weight, or the basketball couldn't touch a weight, and I was gone after 2 or 3 months. But I was fortunate enough to come into a place at Macon County that people trusted that I knew what I was talking about. So I was able to hire some people. We hired a basketball coach last year that is, he's playing for the, I guess, quarterfinals, is it? Tomorrow night. And every one of those basketball players, and we've got some skinny ones, but we've got some good-looking ones too. But every one of those basketball players has been in the weight room. I said, Coach, what's this got to do with football? Well, it's all part of developing that mental attitude that, hey, when you go on the court, whether you're on the court or that you're on the field, that you're going to be dominant because of your size, not necessarily size, but because of your strength. And that strength and that weight program is, I guess I'm moving too slow. I need to move on. It is going to reinforce what you do on the field. We train each muscle group that is specific for football. The key to fighting boredom and complacency is the set of principles, which we will cover in a few minutes. Intensity is a key to individual movement. If that kid is not almost shaking when he comes out of the squat, the intensity is not high enough. If that bench comes up real easy and he's not almost doing that, he didn't have to do that, but you've got to see it in his face, and you've got to look at how he's reacting. Okay. But intensity can be a deterrent in a variety of exercises if you're not careful. Thus, we offer a varied program in order to ensure continued gains throughout the year. Now we're starting to learn a little bit, or feel a little bit about where our mindset is going to be when we walk out on the field. This comes from the University of Alabama. They probably had some of the best offensive linemen when they won the national championship of maybe, I don't know how they would compare to, Nebraska last year, but when I see Alabama and Nebraska, I see this right here. Blocking mass is multiplied by acceleration, or blocking mass multiplied by acceleration. Can be an unpleasant and intimidating sight to the defender. All right. We had to come up with some definitions of strength and power. before we could really get down and determine what we wanted to try to do in our weight program. So I'm going to give you a few definitions that we feel like. Now, you go to your science teacher and your biology teachers and your math teachers, you may not get the same definitions if we come up with and we use and we talk to our kids about. Because I'll take a kid who is not improving on his squat, and we'll sit down and talk about this. The amount of work done in the shortest period of time is simply strength. A measurement, power, measurement of the amount of work that can be done or can be accomplished. Work, force through a distance, and energy is a capacity for doing work. So strength is related to power and energy. And you offensive linemen and defensive linemen need to understand that. The higher the strength, the more power and energy can be exerted in a shorter period of time. All right. How is your weight program? How important is it? If you're a head coach, are you in there? Or do you just let one of your assistants and stay in there and never darken the doors? Sit over in the county office, talk, whatever you got. Are you in there, and do you have a weight program? Kids must see, and these are the things that kids must see. They must be able to see the improvement in the weight program. Now, they're going to look at the weight program and what they see in themselves. Is their bench coming up? That's a big thing, Is their squat increasing? You got to be able to show them that. And we'll go through some things here. And you'll be able to show them that from some of the things that we cover. Now look, don't try to change and put this weight program in. You do what you know that is working for you. You take one or two things from what we're saying here and use it. But don't try to change the whole thing, because your program can be as good as you want it to be as long as you believe in it. All right. Kids must see that you think that it's important. Do you give that strength coach enough money to buy shirts? We spend about $3,000 a year on t-shirts. We got t-shirts for this and that. And hey, when I give a t-shirt to a kid, I shake that kid's hand and look at me in the eye and say, man, good job. Now, sometimes he gets excited, and sometimes he kind of drops his head because he knows he should be better. All right, kids must see from some form of award. And that's the first one we have. Of course, everybody's got that. The second was a combination of squat, bench, and deadlift. I think most people got that. Here's what most people don't have, these next two. This next award that we give, and I'm going to put up an overhead that comes. This is our power rating chart. Most of you can see it. I'm going to get in some X's and O's here. You guys that are not hardcore weightlifters or believe in the weight program, y'all hang in here with me now. We'll get into some X and O. But what this chart does, it allows you, and it says strength chart up here, but when I first got the chart, I got it from a guy in Louisville, Kentucky. He was a strength coach, high school strength coach in Louisville, Kentucky. It's the best thing I've ever come up with for evaluating your athletes, not just your football players, but all athletes. And you can take a 400-pound bencher over here and a 600-pound squatter. He may not be able to score on this test as high as a sprint man in track because of the point system. But if he is able to run well, he'll score. Because this is an indicator of athletic performance. not just football. So this is a good way to judge your athletes. I'm going to put this up here. It's not going to be a very, and the second one is the Ironman. We'll get to that in a minute. Ironman Award. This chart is not going to be very clear because we had to run it off of this. I don't know if you can see that well enough to do anything anyway. But what I wanted to show you is the point system, not necessarily what can happen, or not necessarily what each individual kid did. But they're rated on a point system according to what their bench is, what their power clean and their squat is. When you go over here, this is the column for points. For 250-pound bencher, they get 28 points. You give them a pound for every, or give them a point for every pound that they're over 250. And you total all those up, and you come up with a strength total, which would be those three bench, clean, and squat. And you total all this up, and then you come over here and see where they are. Well, we have what we call, this is our club name. We have a super dog, which is anything over 303 points. And we have a top dog, and then we have a wonder dog, and then we have a bulldog. And you can see that that's the lowest points total. So an athlete could possibly come in there, he couldn't bench real well, couldn't squat real well, but he run real well. And we had one of those this year, our free safety. Wasn't a great bencher, wasn't a great squatter, but he could run. And he scored more points than some of our linebackers. So that's a very important chart for us, a very, very important award, because they get T-shirts for each one of those clubs. I'll hurry on through this so we can get into some X's and O's. So our base lifts are 3 on the upper and 3 on the lower. And I guess, you know, everybody thinks it's the military press as being up here in front, but we call it the military, but it's actually behind the neck press. Any questions about that? All right. Now, we do a number of auxiliary lifts. And what we try to do is we have 3 cycles from January to second week in March. We're on one cycle, then we'll go to another cycle. Basically, from January on to the second week in March, we're in something similar. It's not exactly, but something similar to bigger, faster, stronger. But I took it and did some other things with it. The next cycle is from March. It's a 7-week cycle, and it has more reps in it, but it has some heavy lifting in it. These are our auxiliary lifts, and I want to talk to you now about principles of overload. And this is key to your weight program. You've got to overload those kids one of these ways. In any cycle that you're in, or any type of program that you're in, you've got to overload them, and you've got to constantly change these principles. The first one is heavy weights and low reps. You can't do that year-round. You can't do it. We've found that you can't do it for more than 8 weeks. We find that we get real stale if we do it for more than 8 weeks. So we have to go then, and there comes into play our second principle, which is our second cycle, beginning in the second week of March. High reps, medium weight. And the third is high sets, a combination of low reps and or medium weight. Now, for instance, if we're in a cycle where we're using heavyweight, low reps. We'll stay on that. But let's say Monday we come in, we're going to do 3 sets of 3. All right, but on that 3 sets of 3 now, as soon as they get through with that, and I'll keep up with what they do, but on that 3 sets of 3, you got to go back here now. You got to go back here, and that's where the dumbbells come in. If you don't have any dumbbells in your weight room, you're really missing something. You're really missing something. How many how many people got weights from the prison? Few? You missed something if you didn't get them from the prisons now. Man, we licked it up. We lapped it. We got everything they had. We got oodles of weights. Only 1 set of dumbbells. But I had 2 sets, so that did help us. And we got all kinds of power racks, all kinds of benches. How many people walk into the weight? Do you walk into your weight room? What do you see when you walk into your weight room? I walked into a weight room the other night in a Quad A program. They had 6 benches down here, 6 benches down here, and 2 old squat racks in the back. Ain't no way you can win like that. It ought to be the other way around. But it's hard to tell some people that. It's like it was hard to tell them baseball coaches those kids weren't supposed to live, or they were supposed to live. Tough on them. Share this with you. Come up with this, I told you, from Oklahoma State. This is a complex. This is what our basketball players do on game day. Let me tell you something, man. This is a great workout. On Monday, game week on Monday, and we're doing 5 sets of 5 or 6 sets of 8. And we're due to lift upper body on Friday, which we play. We'll still lift. We'll still lift 6 sets of 8, just like it was a normal day, on game day. Now, if we do lower body on Monday, and we're supposed to do lower body on game day on Friday, we'll go to complex. Now, what this complex is simply dumbbell work. And you can put barbells in it. We have a barbell complex down here. But this right here you can run through in about 12 minutes. But see, they don't get to rest. It's not like a circuit trainer, and yet it is. High pulls, power cleans, push squats. Probably one of the best overall things to tell for your young kids in the 7th and 8th grade. We got 28 8th graders lifting every day after school. And we started them off on this complex 4 weeks ago, and they would do the same thing every day, those 4 days. We lift them 4 days a week. So to achieve the balance that you need in your shoulders and your hips, you need to do some dumbbell complex work, because those younger kids are not going to be, sometimes they're not going to be as flexible. You've seen this old guy who's going to be a pretty good football player, and he's kind of heavy, and when he squats, he does this instead of bending his leg, and you'll tell him bend his legs, and he'll do this, and he'll do that. You've seen this is the best thing in the world to get them out of that. For years, I looked for something to get kids out of that. I just, try to make them do it, when I was younger. But this is the best thing in the world to make them do it, because when you do that push squat, so you just power clean that thing up here like this, and you tell him to keep his back straight, and he goes all the way down, and then you tell him to stop, and he comes all the way up, and then he pushes it, and use the momentum from his hips. Well, usually, if a kid's having trouble standing up or doing that, if he's having trouble and he's bending over, it's because he's not flexible, 1 in his ankles, 2 his hips. And this is a great exercise, that dumbbell push squat. Great exercise for young kids, and we even put some of our older kids who do not get all the way down and start to lean that squat over. We put some of those younger kids on there. All right, now, let's see if I've left anything out. Now, I do want to cover this before we get into the wishbone. This is a program. When I first went to Macon County, my principal, here I go again, my principal said, Coach, if you can come up with something that I can submit to the board, we'll have the weight classes. We'll have the weight classes. I was in another program the other day. I don't want to ramble or seem like I'm rambling. Fellas, I'm going to tell you what, it is hard as the dickens to take 45 athletes in 6 periods and work them like they're supposed to be. I love to play programs like that. You know, I hope that the programs I play have every one of their football players in 6 periods, because they ain't getting worked. There ain't no way you can work them unless you got a weight room the size of the Omni down there. When I asked them for weight classes, now I need to probably back up there. You could probably get them work, but you're going to have 6 coaches in there 6 periods. But anyway, I'm the only one there. I'm the only strength coach Macon County's got. I'm in there by myself. And I've got to make sure they work, and they gonna work. So this is what I gave him. And I got this program from a guy in North Carolina. What's the guy's name? Brown, R.L. Brown High School. Anybody remember the guy's name that used to be up there? But anyway, he gave me this rationale. And if you ever need it to try to get this installed in your high school, or need something for your board as a rationale for a weight program, weight classes, then you need to look at this. And I'll fold this thing up here. That's page 2, and that covers cardiovascular benefits and why you should have the in-school program, and what the objectives ought to be, and all of this stuff. And it will help you as far as your board is concerned. This is a list of activities and things that you can do, and this is a list of awards here for our Ironmen. That's what we do for our Ironman workout. And we gave 7 trophies away Tuesday night at our banquet, and that trophy was that high. So if you're a head football coach and you want some emphasis on your weight program, I see all these football coaches, head football coaches in there. Before I got to become a head coach, all them football coaches want to get them football trophies that high. Well, I'm a little bit different. Why don't you give the weight trophies that high? Because that's where the work's done. You know, the football trophies are all well and good. But what are you doing for you? Are you giving a little thing like that? Some of them are. But the weight program for us is where it's at. Now, after we come off of this chart, this point chart, and I've got power rating up there because this is an old one, but it's the same as this chart here. You know, as you get older, you kind of get a little bit of money in your program, you can afford things like that. Now, what we did is we took that chart and we made us a thermometer so each kid could tell where he was as far as the team was concerned. So John Doe got 165 points. John Do Good got 160. And we list every team up there. Joe Winters got 220. So we list it, and that's something you can just throw in your weight room to let them know where they are as far as their teams. And that's not necessarily strength, it's athletic ability too, because of the points. Okay, now we'll cover this and then we'll get started. On the back of our chart, I talked with each kid in the spring about his goals. Let me read you one kid's goals. I want to be the best player on the team. I want to win the state championship. I want to start in an open position and to be all I can be. Okay, now that was one of our seniors. our free safety, as a matter of fact. That was football goal. I'm not going to stand up here and read all your goals, all of his goals. He has 4 goals he has to come up with. Football, weight training, educational goals. Tells me a little bit about what he wants to do after he gets out. And spiritual goals. I'll make them write them. If they bring this card back and they only got 1 under spiritual, I say I need 3 more under spiritual. Listen to this. Spiritual goals. To read the Bible. To go to church more often. Have God in my life. See? What's that do? What's that do? I just open it up. I can tell him about Jesus if I want to. Become a better person than I am now. So, power rating chart, goals, we covered all. Now let's get into X and O's. I hope I haven't bored too many of you. And if you're looking for something to hang your hat on, as far as the weight program, I think we'll be glad to give you any advice we can. Question?
Coach, do you get all of your lifting work done during the school day, or do you have to do some in the afternoon? We have trouble sometimes with kids that are really good students. They can't work it into their schedule. What do you do with those folks?
Well, that's a tremendously good question, because we've had one kid that we couldn't get in the weight room, so we've had to make him come after school. But that was because he had flunked. It wasn't because he's a great student. He had flunked, and he had to have something. He was a junior, and he had to have something the next year. And you know, in looking at his schedule, he couldn't get it unless he went to summer school. And and we talked to him about that. Hey, you're not going to miss weight training. You know, you're going to be here, either after school or in school. And if you don't want to go to summer school, then you're going to have to be here after school to live.
Yeah, in our school, we give value to academic courses or advanced courses, and they compete. You know, that's how you get to be top 10 students and all that. And of course, physical education classes are standard classes. Yeah. And so we have a few where that catches them. So we kind of wonder just how you deal with it.
Well, I tell you the way we dealt with it. We got a principal that said to that counselor, "You're going to do it this way." And I know that that's not the answer you're looking for, but that's how we were able to deal with it. No, it will count as a PE credit, though. It counts as a half a unit in PE. It's an elective. That's how we get it through our system. It's an elective. Now let me throw another idea at you that you might approach your principal on. A 0 period. You approach them on a 0 period of offering electives before school, say starting at 7:15. They can take either, some kind of elective that period. Now, it doesn't mean that it's a weight class, but it's an elective. And then you have your weight classes scheduled through the day, and that'll get most of the kids that you have a problem with in there. But your principal's got to be willing to do it. And God bless him, I've had the best one in the state, because all I've had to do is ask, and I've gotten what I wanted. Now, it wasn't that just like that, but they've been able to work with me and say, hey, we're gonna set 5 classes of weightlifting up. We're gonna count it as an elective, and every football player, and it's not just football player, but every athlete, basketball player, and so on. Now, I'm not going to stand up here and tell you we got every basketball player that's supposed to be in there. That's up to that coach to worry about. You see?
Do you have any way of keeping hoot men and riff-raff out of your classes?
Well, yeah. But I try not to throw any of them out. I don't necessarily throw them out. I just don't let them sign up for it. But overall, you're not going to find that intensity. You got football players and athletes over here being intense, and then you got these guys over there, you just hope don't kill themselves, And you got to keep an eye.
You have the same problems I have.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we got the same problems everybody else. We got the same drug problems. We got the same academic problems. We got the same problems everybody else got. The point I'm trying to make to you is if you don't have anybody up here helping you, it's tough. And I'm fortunate enough to have somebody.
We call it advanced, and we don't want anybody in there unless they got a D when they were a freshman.
You know, if that's the way you're doing it and it's working for you, I wouldn't change a thing. I'd keep doing it.
Oh, you saying you got non-athletes in there? So you got two two?
Well, we actually have two classes, really. I have a personal fitness one over here and weight training over here, yeah. And that's how they have those 4 electives. I think one class is listed as weight training, one personal fitness, the other's personal fitness 2, and the other's advanced weight training. So, yeah, that's how it was done. Good point there. Right there's our offense. Copy it down. That's 7 base plays. You got 7 secondary plays. Our checkoff system is over there on the right. If we call outside or inside veer, excuse me, if we call outside veer, it's side. If we call if we call inside veer, it's side. If we call outside veer, it's house. Outhouse, they remember that.
Before you get the games, talk about your cycle that you go through.
All right.
Like you got a fall cycle, a winter cycle, a spring cycle, a summer cycle. I mean, what do y'all do?
And we have really 3 cycles.
How long does it take you to go through one? 4 weeks, 6 weeks?
8 weeks, the first one, 7 weeks, the second one, and depending on where we are in school in the summer, usually it's about 12 weeks. So we've got
You already thrown that up or you already?
No, I hadn't showed you that. If you want to stick around, I'll talk with you about it. Okay? Any other question about weight training? Fellas, I don't have all the answers in weight training or offense or defense. I was talking to some of the coaches in the hallway a while ago. My wife told me yesterday, she says, you're going to the right clinic, you're speaking on the right subject, because you got a mouse under your eye here. And what had happened is that I had some cancer removed right there, and it turned my eye black. It was over a week ago. So here I am standing up in front of a bunch of men talking about Smashmouth football, and I got a black eye. So she thought that was kind of funny. But this is it. Now, that's our checkoff system over there, and if your kids are playing ours and you hear Savannah, we're going to run sweep. And if you hear Kansas by the quarterback, we're going to run counter sweep. If you hear Kendrick, we're going to run counter sweep. And I'll show you in a minute. Kendrick's just another form of a little bit different footwork and with the quarterback than counter sweep. Rambo is our trap, and there's no checkoff for it because we just call it Rambo. Power is isolation play on the linebacker. Checkoff for it is Georgia. Blast, checkoff for blast is dynamite. Real complicated. Belly is Cam. Why we came up with Cam is he, big old defensive tackle, got a big old belly on him. That's how we came up with that. Because when we come up, we have to have a checkoff for our players. We let them tell us what they want to use for a checkoff. We have, I want to make sure you got those passes in there. We have blast pass, inside veer pass, power boot, code 1, 2, and 3. All right, let's talk a little bit about the first play, inside veer. Inside veer, I think we got it drawn here against a 6-2. Boy, those computers are something, aren't they? I did this stuff about 2 years ago, and it took me about 4 days to draw 6 or 7 plays. Somebody knew what to do, could probably do it in 7 minutes. Basically, on inside veer, now we run the veer a little bit different. We run the option a little bit different than most people. I'm going to cover all my offense in 8 minutes. We use what Carson Newman runs as a no-mesh option. And what the quarterback does, he doesn't belly back and he doesn't ride. What he does is he's going to take the ball from center and he's going to point it right at the eyes of that tackle. If those eyes come to the ball, then we are going to pull it. If the eyes are staying upfield, then we're going to give it. It's a real simple read. And we have found that over the years, when I first went to Macon County, we were riding. Getting that ball knocked loose because people were hitting the mesh point. Well, there ain't no mesh point here. If that fullback belly touches the ball, he's got it. He's gone. So, and I probably should have brought some video because sometimes that's hard to believe that it can work that well. But you guys that know the option can experiment with it, and some of you that sold on the ride, we're not here to change your mind on it. We're just here to tell you what we do, and it works for us. So that's how we run the option, the inside and outside veer. Now, of course, the outside veer, you read in the end, we use the same read. Aiming points is a little bit different. And however, if this tackle, we got inside veer call, and this tackle here moves down to a 1, then that changes the whole thing for the quarterback and the fullback. What's that make that then? It makes it outside veer. Because that fullback's going to say, hey, he heard a 1 call from the tackle. Quarterback said, I hear a 1. Changes my read key to who? Defensive end. These backs say, hey, he's hollering 1. We're still on the option. Nothing's changed. So when the ball snaps, we're reading the end. And I really like the outside veer. I don't know why I got it drawn up here so we blocking that guy. I really like to load that guy. I really do. But you got to start somewhere again. So that's how we run the inside veer. Are there any questions about it? Now, we'll zone block that thing right there and come around and do that. And run the double option and put him there too. So, in a 50 now. Whoa, that's 6. Forgot about that. We'll zone that too. In a 5-3, we'll zone it. All right. Let's see, what's next? Outside veer. We can call the outside veer. I got it. See how fancy those computers are? You got it drawn left and you got it drawn right. It's tough, man. But over the years, we found that people are going to play us a 5-3 most of the time, or a 6-5. Coach back there from Putnam County runs a 5-3 and a 60-100, or a 600. Everything in the world coming at you. So basically what we try to do, you know, when we feel like we know where they're going to line up, we'll work on that 5-3 and we'll work on that 6-5, and some of them will get up there in the gap 8. And that's what they should do, because that's the only way they're going to be able to stop us. Because we're going to put the ball on the line of scrimmage as quick as we can and see what we can get out of it. When we talk with our offensive line, we try to talk with our offensive line. We want them to get a mental set that they are not going to learn to do this. They're going to learn to come off the ball, because we are never going to do this. We're either going to be running out there hitting you in the mouth, or we're going to be running out there hitting you in the hip, one or the other. But we're not going to be doing that. So with that in mind, they got to learn, really, in 7 base plays, they got to learn probably 12 schemes. Once they learn the scheme, then they can block any defense. Because, you know, when you're running the blast, let me see where the blast is. That's power. You can get a little bit of that. We run the power, and that's against the 6-2. Of course, that's just no isolation play on the linebacker. But what do you tell the kid if he's playing in 3 and you're supposed to be running the big gap? Well, if he's playing in a 3, we want him to reach out there and take him down? Not us. We want to hit him in the mouth and take him anywhere he wants to go, because our backs know now that if he calls 3 in the 3 technique, which is outside eye, most of you are doing this 9 technique, or, you know, we number each person. Our techniques number each person. So when the fullback and the halfbacks hear the 3 call from the guard, then he knows they're all 3 running a gap right now. And that's how we run the power. And again, there's no secret. We're gonna run where they ain't, basically. You know, the bubble is right here. Well, you got a stud guy that's going to step up in there every time. Good. You better be able to step up 4 quarters. And Lincoln did, and they won. I had a darn gorilla in there at number 44. He was a man, and they won. But we almost did. We almost did. If you saw the game, it's an interesting game. Now, if we got a stud over here and a stud over here and a stud here, 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 and here, it's going to be hard for us to win. But most high school football teams don't have but 1 stud, so we'll probably run away from him. And if they got 1 stud over here and 1 over here, and 1 on the line and 1 off the line, we'll run and read the 1 on the line. So, you know, we feel like that works pretty well for us. Well, let's look at a blast.
Talk about how you load your outside veer.
Load it. It looks just like the blast. You see this area right here, the halfback. The halfback is his steps. He's got 2 steps. He's going to step first right here with the outside foot. His second step is with the inside foot. Now, they can't tell if we're coming to run the blast to kick him out on that track, or if we're loading. And what we tell him on his second, after he plants that foot, he's going to aim right at the outside shoulder or hip of that end or backer. And the first 2 steps look just like blasts on the outside, on our outside veer. And that's why I like to load it so much, I guess, because, you know, if you get that end blocking down on the outside veer and he's blocking down on the blast, unless they're running a kamikaze in there, it's almost impossible to tell where you're loading. Now, we'll get a lot of people that'll run a kamikaze in there on us and try to bust things up, and that's what we want. We want to try to determine how they're going to play the blast early in the ball game. Because if they're running a kamikaze, the next series that we come out, we're going to man block that thing and run the sweep. And we're going to man block it and still run the blast. But we're still, you know, we're going to run the sweep. If they're going to kamikaze when he blocks down, then we're going to run the man blocking on the blast. Okay? Hopefully that this halfback, if he is still coming down and we haven't done a great job of, you know, we feel like if we neutralize a guy, you know, we're in good shape. We don't have to have a great block because he can bounce it out. If he's making a tackle, then that opens up the blast pass for us. Any questions about the load? Did I answer that question about the load? Okay. I got about 4 minutes. Let me get with the belly. Now, the belly has been real good to us this year, and the reason it has is because we run it more. And we're not running the true belly like you read the tackle and all that. We don't fake it to that fullback, and they're going to jump on that fullback because we've been running that inside veer, and we've been running that fullback down. So they're going to jump on that fullback, and he's either going to block, he's going to block B gap, and he's going to block that linebacker. Now, I'm going to cover the sweep here in a minute. I want you to look at how, I have a big one on the sweep. I want you to look at how the belly and the blast are the same for the fullback. This is not an accurate thing as far as what the fullback does, because if in that six, that linebacker sitting there, and if he stunts, he's got to go to this gap, to outside to get that. He is responsible for the linebacker on the sweep. And it doesn't matter where the linebacker is going, A, B, or C. Of course, you know, on the sweep, if that you know, we got a defensive man sitting here and he comes in here, he's not going to catch us. So we've basically told him, hey, you got to make sure you cover those two gaps, the B and the C for sure. More than likely, unless he walks up. Now, if he walks up, it's a different problem because that's a line problem then. But we love to see stunting linebackers. We love to see stunting linebackers because they get caught up so much. Now, once in a while, they're gonna make a play on us. But on the blast and the sweep, we're gonna get them caught up in there and get them blocked. Now, do you tell your linebackers to keep quarterback? How many people do that? Nobody? How many people not going to tell me? Well, we don't keep quarterback, but what I'm trying to show you here is the quarterback action on the blast and the power and the sweep are reverses. And it's two steps before you can determine, either on the power, the blast, or the sweep, on what we're running. And that's what we want to try to get. 2 steps. Because we're reversing on power, we're reversing on blast, and we're reversing and we're tossing. But the toss sometimes, if you watch it on film, is not that much. So it's a real soft toss. And the sweep is designed to run downhill, and what we're going to do, I got a minute. We'll tell this end, if he can hook, hook. You know how Auburn used to run their sweep? That's exactly what we do. You know, if he's going to run upfield, then we're going to run him and cut it up inside of him. And the fullback's got to seal that linebacker. If it's a 5-3, he's got to take that one. And if the end runs upfield, that halfback's got to go inside to get corner. And if he comes down and we get him hooked good, then he's coming outside. So all 3 backs have to read that. Similar to you. Okay, I'll finish up on offense, and what we got to cover. I'm going to show you our Kendrick play and our where's those base plays at? I want to show you our counter sweep, because really the Kendrick and the counter sweep are the same, just a little bit different. The Kendrick hits quicker. So when do you use the counter sweep? When do we use it? Well, we'll get into that. Well, I'm out of time. I thank you, men, for your attention. And if I can help you with any of this, I'd be glad to share what we have. Feel free to call me at any time. Thank you.